We are at chapter 34 called The Traitor's Table. Next morning, Pickett and Heather walked to breakfast early. They hoped to avoid the long lines expected ahead of the assembly. Pickett was sullen but wouldn't talk to Heather about it. She suspected that something had happened with Helmer. She guessed the old nut had gotten to Pickett. She resented Helmer and feared what he was making of her brother. "What's it like with Mrs. Weaver now, Pickett?" Heather asked. A change of subject might help. "It's fine," he said, putting himself between Heather and the next knot of soldiers in the hallway. "Fine? Is it all you can say?" she asked. "Fine? What does she say? What do you say? What are some of the words spoken from your mouth? Can you give me a little something more than fine?" "Fine," he said. "I mean, sure I can." He thought for a minute. "Well, I come away with far fewer bruises than in my time with Helmer." "I'll bruise you," she said, slapping at his shoulder. "If you won't talk, maybe I can get her to tell me. I'm sure she has the best of advice." "It's not really like that, Heather. She often says, 'Remember who you are, Pickett Longtreader,' but she usually just listens to me," he said. His tone caught her off guard. It was a little embarrassed, but also defiant. "She does, really?" Heather thought this was mad, like a waterfall letting a teardrop put out a fire. "But she's so wise. I would think she would be filling your head with her advice all the time till your thick head leaked wisdom." "Nope." "So, is it any help?" Heather asked. "I love it." "Good, Pickett. Hey, that's wonderful," she said. "I'm glad." "You sound genuinely thrilled," he said, and by thrilled I mean completely unconvinced. They made it into the very crowded, savory den and got in line for food. Most of the population of Cloud Mountain are in their own homes or even in the great hall. The savory den was ordinarily a place for visitors, but with the Citadel Congress meeting, there were plenty of these. Most were tough-looking soldiers, and many gave them suspicious looks. Emma came in and joined them in line. "Hello, Longtreader," she said. She liked to use their true name, and she didn't mind saying it loudly. Most everyone knew who they were by now, so she had decided she wasn't going to slink around about it. "Hello, Emma," Heather said, hugging her friend. Pickett waved and smiled. "Hey, Shuffler," she said, punching Pickett's shoulder. "How's your foot?" "Fine, but my shoulder's killing me. I keep running into fists this morning. Too bad there's no doctors around." "Well, try to be tough if you can." "Honestly, you guys are so mean to each other," Heather said. "A truce," Emma said. "What do you say, Shuffler?" "Sure," he said, "for an hour." "Agreed." "Good," Pickett said. "My shoulder needed a break." Hayward joined them with a neat short bow to both Emma and Heather. "Good morning, ladies." He slapped Pickett's shoulder. "Hello there, soldier." They all said good morning, though Pickett was wincing. They got their food at last, a vegetable pie with a golden brown crust they could barely wait to eat. Heather saw Gort's head poking in and out of the kitchen, taking in the eager looks from the hungry patrons and the satisfied smiles where rabbits sat eating. She gave him a big smile when she got his eye. His face lit up. He disappeared back inside the kitchen, yelling at his staff, "Stay after it, you amateurs. This is your chance to impress a Citadel lord and escape there to cook for soldiers in a war zone. It'll be much safer for you, especially if you don't stop adding so much salt." She heard a crash and apologetic rumblings. They sat at a crowded table, half occupied by some young friends, a few rabbits their age who weren't afraid to be seen with them, and half by soldiers from one of the citadels. The soldiers in for the Citadel Congress had crests and heraldry telling where they were from, but Heather hadn't figured it all out yet. These had badges on their shoulders or crests on their tunics featuring a shield split in two. The left side displayed a large green diamond surrounded by a circle of 9 small red diamonds. The right side showed only a single black star. She thought of the Black Star of Kingston. She wondered if these soldiers were from Kingston Citadel. At the head of the other end of the long table sat a tall rabbit with gray and black fur. Clearly he was a lord. His chest bore the same crest, large and beautifully sewn. He also wore a gold chain with a bright medallion like Lord Rake's. His soldier bore a black star patch. Heather caught him looking at her and Pickett, his eyebrows creased. Then he smiled warmly, surprising her. She smiled back. I guess they're not all against me. How are my dear friends from Nick Hollow this morning? Hayward asked. He was the one who was still a little wary of using the name Longtreader. Fine, said Pickett. Fine. How are you, Hayward? Heather asked. And how goes the hedgeling? It's a disaster up there, he said, pitching his voice low. All the guests here. Tensions high, clumsy, crooked hedges. Everywhere, to simply add to the discomfort of the community. I'm so embarrassed. Well, talk to us about embarrassment, said Pickett. When your uncle betrays the king and ruins everything ever. It's similar, said Hayward. Only you two can understand me. Heather heard a harsh voice from behind say, Traitors eat with traitors. They turned to see the stocky rabbit from Halfwind Citadel, Captain Fry, smirking. I eat where I like, Captain Fry, the Black Rabbit Lord said, and I doubt Lord Ramner would like you insulting another Citadel's lord. And as long as we're dishing out maxims to live by, how about this one? Cowards taunt children. They're not children, Lord Victor, said Fry. They're nearly fully grown, at least the girl is. And even the boy's old enough to pass along information to Mormon's side. I've seen him with my own eyes out at night, sneaking around, going no doubt to meet up with the enemy wolves and to pass our secrets. They love to attack while all the lords and captains are here. You lie, said Pickett. The room went quiet. Now, Fry, this isn't the place, said Lord Victor. Well, I've already lodged a complaint with Lord Rake, and Lord Ramner knows, said Fry. And Rake doesn't believe that Buck's capable of treason. Imagine that, a long traitor, incapable of treason. A few rabbits laughed, mostly the rabbits of Fry's company, but the rest were quiet, looking back and forth between Pickett Longtreader and Captain Fry. I could never do that, said Pickett. I'd do anything for the cause, any of us would. You know what, Bucky, said Fry. The last rabbit who said that to me was named Garton Longtreader. And he looked an awful lot like you. An awful lot, one of his fellows said. Then more said the same, and they kept repeating it. An awful lot, Longtreaders, an awful lot. The saying went round and round the room. The Longtreaders are an awful lot, until finally Lord Victor shouted, Silence! The room quieted. There were many different kinds of faces staring at Heather and Pickett. Angry, sad, uncertain, tense, wounded faces. Heather wanted to get out. She clenched Pickett's arm. Let's go, Pickett, she said, and they made for the door along with Hayward. Emmett came as well, seething with rage. Heather saw that Lord Victor was following along with several of his soldiers. Heather was furious. Before they reached the door, she turned, pointing at Lord Fry, and said, You're wrong. You can't refight Jupiter's crossing in a dying hall against children. I know you're angry and hurt. We're too. But we want this war to end just like you do. Our parents and baby brother are either dead or Morbin's prisoners are right now. Fry shook his head, let go chuckling. Someone said, so they say. And a few murmured similarly. Of course, she said, shaking her head. We're the problem. If we're gone, everything would be fine. And she left.